In this issue, we will go to the origin of the stars that led the caravans with silk, spices, and knowledge. The lands where royal lives depended on the stars. Let's find out what the ancestors of most of our viewers, the slaves, saw in the sky. And why does the big bear not look like a bear, but like a bucket? So, these stars guided caravans carrying silk, spices, and knowledge to their destination, and the lives of royalty depended on the stars. Now we go to the home of these journeys, where the stars were of great importance. Like the Sumerians, the Chinese also believed that events in the sky predicted events on Earth. Therefore, it was important for a successful ruler to have court astronomers who had a monopoly on the heavens and the calendar within the empire. Only they could compile the calendar, and commoners were strictly forbidden to interpret the celestial signs. Anyone caught doing so faced the death penalty. This meant that the heavens communicated with the emperor and not with the common people. The court astronomers took full advantage of this monopoly, carefully observing all celestial phenomena, especially meteors. This was the name given to comets in China, which were often associated with the death of royalty, famine, or plague. The Silk Atlas, for example, had 29 images of these comets with captions detailing their ominous significance. The Annals of 1054 also record an ominous invited star that remained bright and fiery for more than a year. It was most likely the explosion of a supernova, the remains of which can be seen today in the form of the Crab Nebula. However, the emperor was most interested in recurring celestial phenomena, such as eclipses. Astronomers interpreted solar eclipses as a celestial dog devouring the sun, and the emperor relied on court astronomers to predict these events in order to prepare for them accordingly. The court astronomers attempted to predict eclipses in advance to frighten away the celestial dog that was believed to be devouring the sun. To achieve this, they would shoot arrows into the sky, smash pots, and create loud noises, essentially scaring the beast off. This technique always seemed to work, and the apocalypse was always averted after a few minutes. If the prediction proved to be accurate, it confirmed the emperor's divine connection to heaven. However, if the astronomers made a mistake, it could signal to political rivals that the emperor's power had weakened, and they might attempt a coup. In 2136 BC, there was an unexpected solar eclipse that the court astronomers Xi and He failed to predict. The punishment for such a mistake was execution because it could damage the emperor's divine reputation in the eyes of the people. To reinforce the belief in the emperor's divine origin of power, the emperor himself was placed in the center of the star map, symbolizing that everything in the universe, including the heavens, revolved around him. The 28 constellations were incredibly significant in Chinese astrology as they formed the lunar zodiac, consisting of poetic names such as empty, heart, growth, and danger. Based on the constellation in which the moon was located on a particular day of the month, the Chinese determined auspicious times for significant events like weddings, burials, or planting crops. Together, the 28 constellations merged into 4 animal figures: the black turtle, the blue dragon, the red bird, and the white tiger. These 4 mythological beings were believed to rule everything, including the 4 sides of the world, the 4 seasons, and the 4 elements. Even today, the lunar zodiac remains an essential aspect of Chinese culture, and it is still used to create an annual almanac that over 1 billion Chinese people use to plan their lives. The almanac contains information such as the auspicious hours of the day, lucky stars, and zodiac signs that are in conflict with each other, providing guidance to people on how to navigate their daily lives. So in China, the old constellations are not dead. They still rule people's lives, but no longer emperors, but ordinary mortals. So we have discovered the main origins of astronomy in Eurasia. The Sumerians, the Greeks, the Arabs, the Chinese too. But the question arises here: what did see in the sky? The Slavs. The Slavs did not have as developed a tradition of astronomy as some other cultures. They did not need to sail or wander the stars. They lived a sedentary life, plowing fields and caring for their livestock. That was life. But after a hard day lying under the open sky, they couldn't help but admire the beauty of the stars. They named the brightest stars and constellations, often using colorful and imaginative names that reflected their mythology and folklore. For example, the constellation known to us as the Big Dipper was called wagon or sleigh by the Slavs, and they also saw it as the image of a humpbacked horse pulling a cart. The slaves still found meaning and wonder in the night sky. In Russia, the group of stars known as Pleiades is commonly referred to as Baba, which translates to grandmother in English. This is because the stars are perceived as a group of women who have gathered to engage in gossip. Other interpretations of the Pleiades include a nest with eggs or a hen with chicks. Similarly, the pole star is called an axis or nail, as it appears to hold the sky in place like a nail. It is even referred to as a womb. The pole star is surrounded by other stars that appear to move around it, resembling the movement of bees around a queen. It is notable that all of these interpretations of the stars are connected to the daily life of peasants. The stars that were most useful to them were the ones that aided in their daily activities, such as determining the time. The constellation Orion's belt is a good example of this, while other cultures perceived it as part of the figure of a great hunter. In Russia, it was viewed as three distinct characters resembling mowers. The appearance of Orion rising from behind the horizon in the morning signaled to the peasants to begin mowing the grass before dawn, while it was still covered in dew. This allowed the scythe to cut more easily and the laborer to expend less energy. As a result, the peasants referred to this time as mowers, which is derived from the word for mowing. This practical use of the stars exemplifies the Slavs' attitude towards them. They did not view the stars as gods or mythical heroes, but rather as tools to aid in their everyday tasks. For the Slavs, the stars served a simple function as an alarm clock. The Slavs did not even create constellations, but rather asterisms, which are the precursor to constellations. These asterisms are collections of stars that are not necessarily associated with any particular myth or story. Instead, they are named for their practical or symbolic significance. This, by the way, explains your bewilderment, including mine, why the Big Bear does not look like a bear, but like a scoop. The Big Dipper is a constellation, while the scoop is an asterism within the constellation. The Dipper is made up of only a part of the constellation, consisting of 7 stars, while the full contour of the bear, as seen in some cultures, is made up of 19 stars. It is important to note that asterisms are very old and were used by ancient civilizations as a way to remember and identify important stars. They are a precursor to the modern constellations we use today. Remember, in the movie Prometheus, ancient civilizations drew the same star patterns. This is most likely due to the fact that these patterns are based on real stars that are visible to everyone on Earth. The stars that make up the asterisms and constellations have been known and recognizable for thousands of years, leading to the widespread use of these patterns in various cultures and civilizations. Finally, the logo of the Subaru automobile company actually depicts the stars of the Pleiades, which are another group of stars that form an asterism. The name Subaru means Pleiades in Japanese, and the 6 stars on the company logo represent the 6 brightest stars in the Pleiades cluster. They were first depicted on Roman coins known as denarii in 74 BCE, and were also carved in stone over the head of a Mesopotamian king around 670 BC. In addition, a celestial disk depicting the Pleiades was made in Germany more than 1,000 years ago. However, according to researchers, the most amazing depiction of the Pleiades is a rock painting found in a cave 15,000 years ago. The oldest known constellation is also depicted with the Pleiades in the same rock painting. If you had guessed that the constellation depicted in the Lascaux cave painting was Taurus, then your intuition was correct. It is believed that the Paleolithic people who created the painting recognized the similarity between the pattern of stars and the horns of the bison that surrounded them. The dots on the calf's muzzle in the painting resemble the star clusters of the Hyades, while the Pleiades are depicted above the bull's neck. Therefore, this painting is considered to be the oldest known stellar map. The depiction of the constellation Taurus in the Lascaux cave painting is considered a map demonstrating that people during that era had an interest in the stars and sought to capture their beauty in their rock art. Some anthropologists even suggest that this painting may be the earliest representation of stars in art. But who knows? Maybe there are still caves. We haven't been to where we can find older references to stars. But how do we find the oldest mention of stars? If we want to uncover the oldest mention of stars, we may need to look beyond cave paintings and instead examine the folklore that has been passed down through generations. The theory is that if all peoples have a common star myth, then that myth may be the oldest. One such myth involves a huge bear emerging from hibernation in the spring and being spotted by 3 hunters. These hunters pursue the bear throughout the summer months, finally catching it in the fall. The bear, preparing to fight back, rises on its hind legs in fury, and one of the hunters pierces it with an arrow, causing its blood to splash on the leaves of the trees and stain them red in the fall. Having defeated the beast, the hunters prepare a feast using the long-awaited prey. It is believed that the spirit of a slain bear inhabits another sleeping bear, and the cycle begins anew in the spring. A simple but elegant story, the way in which ancient people from around the world spoke about the Big Dipper constellation was similar to the story of the bear and the hunters. They observed that the position of the dipper changed during the year, sometimes standing on end and other times upside down. While the rotation of the Earth is the scientific explanation for this phenomenon, ancient people explained it through storytelling. In this version, the ladle itself is the beast, and the 3 hunters are the stars on its handle. One of the stars, Alcor, is even nicknamed the hunter's dog. This tale of the cosmic hunt is found throughout the Northern Hemisphere, with each culture adapting the story to their own landscape and creatures. While the specifics may vary, researchers of folklore and anthropology have found common roots in the myth. The myth of the cosmic hunt was likely passed down through generations as humans migrated across the planet, spreading from Eurasia to North America during a time when the Bering Strait was still a land bridge. This migration is estimated to have occurred between 28,000 and 13,000 years ago. This ancient story, inspired by the universe itself, is the oldest and most popular of its kind. And now, we have continued the tradition by sharing this tale with you, passing the baton of storytelling that has lasted for thousands of years. It's possible that our descendants will create very different stories about the Big Dipper as the Earth and stars continue to slowly change their pattern over millennial timescales. In 100,000 years BC, the ladle would have looked different than it does now. And in the next 100,000 years, it will take on a knife-like appearance. If humanity were to regress to a Stone Age-like state in the future, they might create myths about a heavenly knife, or even an iron arrow with a fiery tail that legend says once brought down human civilization. Such is the story of the northern sky, reflected in the eyes of men. The same stars have been viewed by people across different times and regions of the world, and were interpreted in unique ways as deities, heroes, omens, guiding lights, calendars, perpetual clocks, and sources of power. All of these are visible in the Northern Hemisphere. However, what about the southern sky? Northern astronomers have been unable to observe its constellations for thousands of years. Nevertheless, this does not mean that people south of the equator did not look up at the night sky to observe its brilliance. In the following issue, we will explore the starry sky of the Southern Hemisphere and other celestial objects. In the meantime, remember to click on the notification bell and subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any videos.